guys, welcome to Cytomic. Today, I'll be covering the chapter cells, and the contents of this video will mostly be aligned to the Singapore O-Level syllabus. So first, we'll be comparing the differences between plant cells and animal cells. Next, we'll dive into organelles, both their structure and their function. We'll be also covering the differences between cells, tissues, organs, and system. And we'll be diving deeper into cells, structure and function of red blood cells, xylem vessels, and root hair cells. So what are cells? Cells are the fundamental unit of structure and function in living things. All known living things have to be made up of one or more cells. That's why cells are called the unit of life. Every single cell must contain at least a cell surface membrane, a nucleus, and a cytoplasm. So comparing plant cells and animal cells. On the right, we have a plant cell. It has a more rigid structure, while on the left, we have an animal cell. So here is the difference between plant cells and animal cells. Organelle structure and function. First, we have the nucleus. The main function of the nucleus is to control cell activity. This cell activity includes cell growth and repairing worn-out parts in cells. Next, it is essential for cell division. Without the nucleus, the cell is unable to divide. Red blood cells are examples of cells that are unable to divide as they do not have a nucleus. Here are the parts within the nucleus. First, we have the nuclear envelope. Nuclear envelope, similar to the plasma membrane or the cell surface membrane, helps separate contents in the nucleus with the rest of the cytoplasm. Next, we have the nucleoplasm, similar to the cytoplasm. It's a dense fluid within the nucleus, and it contains ions and organic compounds. Next, the nucleolus. It helps synthesize proteins in the cell. These proteins are essential for cell activity. And finally, the chromatin. The chromatin is also known as the hereditary material of the cell. They are long thread-like structures found within the nucleus. They consist of DNA with proteins. DNA carry instructions that the cell needs for carrying out its activities, and it stores the hereditary information. When the cell is dividing, the chromatin will condense to form chromosomes, which are highly coiled structures. Next, we have the cytoplasm. For the structure of the cytoplasm, it is between the nucleus and the cell surface membrane. It is a semi-jelly-like fluid that contains ions and organic compounds. Cytoplasm. The structure of the cytoplasm is such that it is in between the nucleus and the cell surface membrane. It is the semi-fluid jelly-like substances containing ions and organic compounds. The function of the cytoplasm is that it helps contain the organelles within the cell. Cell surface membrane. The cell surface membrane is also known as the plasma membrane. It surrounds the cytoplasm of the cell. It's made up of lipids and proteins that are embedded in its structure. It's a partially permeable membrane. This means that it only allows some substances to pass through it, and hence its function, controlling substances entering and leaving the cell, and compartmentalization of the organelles. Cell wall. Cell wall are only found in plant cells. It's made up of cellulose, and it's fully permeable. Cell wall surrounds the cell surface membrane and encloses the entire plant cell. The function of the cell wall is that it gives the plant cell its fixed shape and protects the cell from injury. Centriole. Centriole is only found in animal cell. It helps the animal cell divide and acts as a microtubule organization center during spindle formation. Centrioles will be covered in greater detail in a later chapter called cell division. Endoplasmic reticulum. There's two types of endoplasmic reticulum, both rough and smooth. First is the rough endoplasmic reticulum. It's a network of membranous flattened sacs with ribosomes attached to its surface, and hence this gives the endoplasmic reticulum its rough characteristics. It's continuous with the outer membrane of the nuclear envelope. The function of the endoplasmic reticulum is that it helps transport proteins from the rough endoplasmic reticulum to the Golgi Apparatus. These proteins are being synthesized by ribosomes found on its surface, and these proteins are being transported through transport vesicles. Smooth endoplasmic reticulum. Smooth endoplasmic reticulum is a network of membranous tubular sacs. It lacks ribosome on its surface and is connected to the rough endoplasmic reticulum. Its function is that it helps synthesize lipids and carbohydrates. These lipids includes fats as well as steroids. Smooth endoplasmic reticulum is also essential for detoxification, which is a process which converts harmful substances into harmless substances. Here are the differences between the rough endoplasmic reticulum and the smooth endoplasmic reticulum. The first two differences are in its structure, while the final three differences are in its function. Next, ribosomes. Ribosomes are small round structures. They are either free-floating in the cytoplasm or bound to the rough endoplasmic reticulum. It is the site for protein synthesis. Free-floating ribosomes produce proteins that are used within the cell, while bound ribosomes produce proteins that will be packaged and transported out of the cell. Golgi Apparatus. Golgi Apparatus is also known as the Golgi body. It's a membrane-bound flattened sacs. Transport vesicles fuse at one side of the Golgi Apparatus, and transport vesicles also bud off from the opposite side. Vesicles are tiny spiracles enclosed by membranes. It helps to chemically modify substances made by the endoplasmic reticulum. It also stores and packages modified substances into different transport vesicles for secretion out of the cell. Here is the protein making process. It consists of 4 organelles: rough endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi apparatus, cell surface membrane, and ribosomes. Ribosomes bound on the rough endoplasmic reticulum will first synthesize proteins, and these proteins will then be in the rough endoplasmic reticulum for modification, where it's allowed to fold into a specific 3D conformation. These proteins are then move into a vesicle, and this vesicle then pinch off. This vesicle that moves then fuses with the Golgi apparatus and release their contents into the Golgi apparatus. The substances made by the rough endoplasmic reticulum will then be modified inside the Golgi apparatus. At the other end of the Golgi apparatus, secretory vesicles containing these modified substances then pinch off from the Golgi apparatus. They then move to the cell surface membrane. At the cell surface membrane, this secretory vesicle then fuses with the cell surface membrane. When it fuses, the contents are being released outside of the cell. Mitochondria. Mitochondria is a small oval and sausage-shaped organelle. Its function is that it helps in organic respiration. Food substances are oxidized to release energy during aerobic respiration. Energy would then be used to perform cell activity. This cell activity includes growth and reproduction. Chloroplast. Chloroplasts are only found in plant cells. It's an oval, lens-shaped structure containing green pigment, also known as chlorophyll. Chloroplast is essential for photosynthesis. It's a process by which plants use sunlight to make food for cell activity. Next is vacuoles. Vacuoles are both found in plant cells and animal cells. However, there are differences in its function and structure. In its basic form, the vacuole is a fluid-filled space enclosed by membranes. It helps to store substances. However, in the animal cell, there's many small vacuoles. However, in the plant cell, there's only a single large central vacuole. The function of the vacuole in the animal cell is that it helps contain food and water, while in the plant cell, it contains cell sap. Cell sap are dissolved substances which contain sugar, mineral salts, as well as amino acids. So recap. Here are the differences and similarities between plant cells and animal cells. Both plant cells and animal cells have nucleus, cell surface membrane, cytoplasm, endoplasmic reticulum, both rough and smooth, ribosomes, Golgi apparatus, and the mitochondria. The differences between plant cell and animal cells are: in plant cell wall and chloroplast are present. However, cell wall and chloroplast are absent in animal cells. In plant cell, there's a large central vacuole, while in animal cells, there are many small vacuoles. Centrioles is absent in plant cell, but centrioles is present in animal cell. Next, we'll dive into the differences between cells, tissues, organelles, and systems. First, cells. New cells are produced through a process called cell division. These new cells may develop a specific function or lose certain structures to enable them to carry out a specific function. This process is also known as differentiation, where cells become specialized to perform a specific function. Next, tissues. Tissues is where a group of cells with similar structures work together to perform a specific function. There's two types of tissues: simple tissues and complex tissues. Simple tissues are cells of the same kind. This includes muscle tissues in humans, as well as epidermis in plants. Epidermis is a tissue used to cover stems, roots, and surfaces of leaves. Complex tissues contains more than one type of cells. This includes blood. Blood is a complex tissue, as it consists of red blood cells, white blood cells, platelets, as well as plasmas. Xylem tissues and phloem tissues are also complex tissues. In plants, for xylem tissues, it contains dead cells and many vessels, while phloem tissue contains of many sleeves, tubes, and companion tissues. A larger form of tissues is organs, where it consists of more than one type of tissue working together to perform a specific function. This includes your stomach. Stomach has gland tissues, muscle tissues, and nervous tissues, and they all work together to perform a function of digestion of food in your stomach. All the different tissues have its own specific function that work together. For the gland tissue is that it helps secrete enzyme used to digest food. For muscular tissue, it contracts to help churn the food and mix the food with digestive enzymes. And nervous tissues detects the presence of food in the stomach, which will then help activate gland tissue used to secrete digestive enzymes. And finally, organ system. Organ system is where organs come together to perform a uniform purpose. This organ system includes your digestive system, circulatory system, and respiratory system in humans, while in plants, this includes your shoot system and root system. This organ system will then come together to form an organism. So some cells, their structure and function. So first, we have the red blood cell. Its structure is such that the cytoplasm contains this hemoglobin. This hemoglobin helps bind to oxygen and transport it around the body. Next, its circular and biconcave shape. This increases the surface area to volume ratio, increasing the uptake of oxygen and increasing the oxygen is being transported around the body at a faster rate. Finally, the red blood cell lacks a nucleus. This allows it to store more hemoglobin for transportation of oxygen around the body. Next, xylem vessels. Xylem vessels are long hollow tubes extending from the roots to the leaves. It transports water and mineral salts. Xylem vessels are narrow and have no cross walls. Xylem vessels are narrow and have no cross walls. This prevents obstruction of water flow through the lumen. They do not have a protoplasm, which prevents resistance of water flow. And walls of xylem vessels are also thickened with linen. This prevents the collapse of the vessel. And finally, we have the root hair cell, which are long and narrow root hair. It increases the surface area to volume ratio, so that water and mineral salts can be absorbed at a faster rate. So now we have come to the end of the chapter of cells. Thank you, and we hope to see you soon.